cannot handle Aliyah Boston in any way, shape, form, and fashion. And Becky Hammon was forced to admit that in the press conference that I'm about to show y'all in a hot second. But I'm telling you right now, if the Indiana Fever has Caitlin Clark again in these playoffs to face the Aces don't want to see the Fever. They don't want to see them at all because it's looking like the Broomsticks is about to come out this season, bro. I'm telling you right now.
Recent discussion surrounding the ongoing rivalry between A'ja Wilson and Aliyah Boston has centered on the idea that Wilson consistently struggles when matched up against Boston. Some have pointed back to last season's postseason meeting, suggesting that questionable officiating played a significant role in that outcome, arguing that Boston was pushed into foul trouble by Wilson, while the referees called the game tightly in Las Vegas's favor. Attention has now turned to comments made by Aces head coach Becky Hammon, following a recent loss to the Fever, remarks that reportedly stirred frustration among some Wilson supporters, who felt she was too candid about her team's struggles against Boston. The suggestion being made is that if Indiana meets Las Vegas again in the playoffs with Caitlin Clark healthy, the Fever will present a serious challenge, drawing a comparison to how visiting teams often treat games in Indianapolis as a marquee event, while suggesting the Fever have similarly dominated recent meetings on the road in Las Vegas.
Don't y'all know how, like, when teams come to Indy and they got to play the Fever and they feel like we're their Super Bowl? What I'm here to tell you, when the Fever go to Las Vegas, that's our Super Bowl, bro. That's the biggest stage. Y'all won. Y'all the champs. And guess what they come do? Belt to ass. That's what they come to do. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to continue to do that. But let's check out Becky Hammon in this damn press conference because she wasn't even that frustrated.
During her post-game press conference, Hammon acknowledged that her team's performance was underwhelming from the start, citing a series of uncharacteristic technical and execution errors rather than schematic issues. She noted that Indiana's three-point shooting was a major factor in the game, though she attributed much of it to her own team allowing open looks rather than crediting exceptional shooting alone, while still giving Indiana credit for knocking down the shots they were given.
Becky Hammon in this damn press conference because she wasn't even that frustrated. I just got to be honest, man. She ain't that frustrated, but damn, the Fever. I don't know, man, because I ain't putting that dub on Stephanie White. I'm sorry, I cannot give Stephanie White that dub, bro. That was a team effort win.
The juice necessary to defend a team like that, because out of the gate it was pretty ugly. A lot of mistakes, not just schematically, just technique-wise and system.
Asked about her in-game communication style during timeouts, Hammon explained that she typically speaks with her assistant coaches before addressing the team, and that she intentionally avoids dominating every huddle, preferring to let players communicate among themselves and self-correct rather than relying solely on her direction.
Not just schematically, just technique-wise and system, things that we normally do, and we just didn't do them. Obviously, the three-point line was a problem, and it's not so much the shots that
three-point line.
They were just horse shots, though. That's the problem. So, of course, they're going to shoot a really great percentage when they're wide open. So,
come on, Becky.
I would say most of it's us, but they did a nice job of knocking them down.
Thank you. And then also, this is a general question also, but at timeout, sometimes I've noticed, like, you're not always the one that's, like, in the center of the huddle in the time.
The Fever closed the game on a 38-11 run spanning the end of the third quarter into the fourth. Hammon was asked to break down where the defensive breakdown occurred during that stretch. She explained that her team was consistently beaten in the opening seconds of the shot clock, creating a cascading effect, compounded by inefficient offensive possessions that failed to make Indiana work defensively.
Out directing the team, how does that work? Is it sometimes like you're huddling with your coaches and then the players are just like on autopilot, or what exactly is happening sometimes in those timeouts?
Which ones are you referring to? Because pretty much I go and talk to them. I talk to my assistants, and then I go talk to them.
Okay, so most of the time it's like you're always delivering some type of message.
Most of the time. Sometimes the assistants can deliver a message. Sometimes they're delivering messages to themselves. I don't need to.
She emphasized that ball movement had been taken away by Indiana's defense, forcing Las Vegas into isolation-heavy possessions, which she said is never favorable for her team. She stressed the need for more discipline with off-ball movement, noting that stagnant positioning often prevents the ball from moving as well.
I don't need to dominate a huddle. I want their voices to be heard. I want them to self-correct and figure it out on their own instead of me coming in there and doing all the correction. So, sometimes I go in right away and then go talk to my assistants, or sometimes I talk to my assistants first and then go in last. Just kind of depends.
Indiana closed the game on a 38-11 run.
38-11 run. You guys heard him? 38.
On the topic of Wilson's ability to get to the rim against Indiana, Hammond attributed the difficulty to a combination of factors, including the Fever's defensive scheme and insufficient guard play generating opportunities to get Wilson positioned effectively. She mentioned a preference for using Wilson in mid-range situations with more space rather than repeatedly posting her directly against Boston, citing the physical toll of that matchup, and noted that Indiana was the more physical team throughout the contest. She pointed out that Wilson attempted 23 shots but likely did not have clean looks on most of them, given how compressed the offense became.
On a 38-11 run.
38-11 run. You guys heard him? 38.
Third quarter to the start of the.
A 38-11 run. Y'all want to know what this sound like? This sound personal, bro. This is no Stephanie White coaching. This is a personal win. The Fever put their calendars with a smiley face by it, circle it in red ink when they finna play the Aces, bro.
Fourth quarter. Where did you assess some of the breakdowns that occurred during that last probably 13, 14 minutes of the game?
Wilson herself addressed her team's performance, taking personal responsibility for the outcome, and stating that the loss was not about scheduling or fatigue, but about her team failing to bring the level of effort and attention to detail required on both ends of the floor. She said her team understands the standard it needs to meet, and simply did not meet it in that game, adding that she felt responsible for setting the defensive tone early and did not do so effectively. She expressed confidence in the team's ability to bounce back, given the opportunity to play again soon.
I mean, there was a break. We were beat the first 5-7 seconds of the shot clock. And when you do that, it's just a domino effect. But also our lousy offense. We had too many possessions. We just went down, shot. And you have to make that team work defensively. One, it takes possession time away from them. But also, in order to break down their defense, you have to get it side to side. I thought they took a lot of our ball movement away, and we just kind of stood and let them. So it turned into a little bit of a one-on-one match. And
guard Kelsey Plum addressed a question about replay reviews during the game, stating that she generally does not focus on them since they are outside player control, and that the team's priority should be maintaining or shifting momentum rather than dwelling on official reviews, even when some calls seem questionable.
The bad news is a perfectly healthy Caitlin Clark, for whatever reason, will be on a minutes restriction again. Now, Aliyah Boston just came off of an injury the other night, played 38 minutes. And by the way, everybody noticed that. Oh, but the media, the Indiana Fever media will be like, nothing to see here, please move along.
Dana, who made her season debut in the game, expressed gratitude to be back on the court with her teammates after a lengthy absence, describing some early game nerves, but expressing confidence that her play would improve. Wilson, addressing her own health and the team's overall condition, said the group needs rest, noting a number of shots that normally fall did not go in during the game, while cautioning against making excuses and stressing the need to avoid similar performances going forward.
There's nothing to see here, please move along. God dog, I watched one guy's video today and that will remain nameless that covers the Fever, and I'm like, are you really justifying Kathy Engelbert backing out on Dan Patrick? You big fat furry P word. Oh. Here we go. Here we go. Right here.
Both players were asked to assess the breakdown during Indiana's 15-point run to close the third quarter and open the fourth, a stretch that included 5 three-pointers and 15 points from Sophie Cunningham. One player pointed to a lack of defensive communication, explaining that mixed reads on defensive assignments led to lost track of shooters and overall defensive structure, reinforcing that attention to detail in these moments is critical. On the subject of Indiana's high volume of three-point attempts, close to 30 for the game, Wilson suggested that improved one-on-one defense would be the most effective way to prevent Indiana from breaking down the defense and forcing extra defensive rotations that lead to open catch-and-shoot opportunities.
Here we go. Here we go. Right here. They will not be doing the same minute strategy of 3-minute burst, Stephanie White added. Caitlin Clark will be available against Las Vegas tomorrow. Steph White says she's on a 20 to 25 minute restriction. Wow. So here we go. Yes, this time it'll be 2-minute burst. Chloe, you are not a real journalist.
In a lighter moment, Wilson was asked about a shirt she wore, reading "Protecting My Peace," which she said was selected by her stylist. She was then asked more broadly about the difficulty of attacking the basket against Indiana's defense. She admitted dissatisfaction with most of her shot attempts that night, attributing the issue largely to spacing, explaining that Indiana's defense forced her team into more isolation possessions than fits their identity as a team.
Journalists, people are getting pissed. People are getting so pissed of this pro-Indiana Fever Stephanie White bullshit. You know, they want to keep saying, well, there's made-up narratives. Well, I know one narrative that ain't made up. Fans are pissed. I'm putting a signal boost on it right now. Fans are pissed. But y'all will just keep ignoring that.
While acknowledging her individual capability in those situations, she said that style of play does not reflect the team's system, and she took some personal responsibility for standing too stationary at times, which she said allowed Indiana's defense to gain an advantage. She expressed continued confidence in her teammates going forward. The broader takeaway offered was that Wilson's post-game explanation was viewed by some as an inadequate account for her recurring struggles against Boston specifically. Viewers were invited to share their own thoughts in the comments section.
Just keep ignoring that. Clark's a professional. No other MVP All-Star in any other sport would be parented like Caitlin Clark is. It upsets me that Clark allows it. Hopefully she's just biding her time. There are a lot of fans that are starting to want Caitlin Clark to get pissed off. That is a thing right now that is brewing bigger and bigger.
The Indiana Fever are set to face the Las Vegas Aces, with A'ja Wilson back in the lineup after returning from injury earlier in the week and expected to play. The late evening tip-off time drew some confusion, though the Las Vegas setting likely explains the scheduling. An update on Caitlin Clark's status carried both positive and concerning elements. She has been cleared to play against the Aces, but despite being fully healthy, she will once again be placed under a minutes restriction. This comes just days after Aliyah Boston, returning from her own injury, was allowed to log 38 minutes in her return game, a contrast that has not gone unnoticed by fans, even as some Fever-affiliated media coverage has downplayed the discrepancy.
Growing bigger and bigger. What blows my mind is a professional coach and staff didn't realize that wouldn't work. It could actually cause more damage to their player, only to now see it. Look, the only reason they're making an adjustment is because they got destroyed. They got destroyed. Stephanie White got destroyed. So little reactions to a minutes restriction, period. Sabotage. I effing hate that coach. Watch her play Caitlin Clark.
According to head coach Stephanie White, the restriction this time will differ from the short burst rotation pattern used previously, with Clark now expected to play somewhere in the 20 to 25 minute range, rather than being cycled in short stretches. Reaction to this update has been largely frustrated, with a growing number of fans expressing anger over how Clark's playing time continues to be managed compared to other players on the roster. The sentiment being amplified is that no other MVP caliber, all-star level player in another major sport would be handled this way, and there's concern that Clark's own patience with the situation may eventually run out. Speculation is building that a growing portion of the fan base wants to see Clark push back on the arrangement herself.
Coach, watch her play Caitlin Clark with Dantas and Grace. F. Stephanie White. People are pissed. So we can expect erratic rotation, subs from the end of the bench, and Stephanie White induced loss because that's what she wants when CC's playing. I would not watch another game with her on minutes restriction. Stephanie White is a clown. Watch out, Ronald. She's gunning for your job.
Criticism has centered on the idea that a professional coaching staff should have recognized sooner that this restriction pattern carried real risk of doing more harm than good, with adjustments to the approach only appearing to follow a lopsided loss. Fans have voiced frustration that erratic bench rotations tend to follow these restriction periods, sometimes resulting in results that reinforce a broader narrative that the team performs better without Clark on the floor. There's hope among fans that any lineup changes going forward avoid repeating an earlier game in which Clark was left on the floor, mostly alongside reserve players rather than fellow starters. Some have suggested this placement reflects how the coaching staff genuinely views her role within the rotation.
Woo-wee! Wow. Wow. Let's hope White puts her on the floor at the same time as other starters. In other words, not a repeat of the nonsense in the Sparks game, having the whole bench out there with Caitlin. Well, I mean, she's out there with the bench because that's exactly where the hell Stephanie White believes she belongs.
Suspicion has also grown around motive, with some fans questioning whether the timing is connected to recent congressional scrutiny of the league, framing the pattern as something closer to retaliation or an attempt to create friction within the locker room. Others have raised the idea that repeated shortened outings, followed by underwhelming results, could fuel further speculation and questions about incompetence within the training and coaching staff, with concern that continued losses under these conditions will only strengthen the better without her talking point and risk cooling fan interest over time. Attendance figures have also become part of the conversation,